Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here with the Healthy at Home webinar today. My name is Paige, and I'm your host for the afternoon. Becky is also here to help with technical issues. If you have issues, you can always text or message me in the chat or Becky in the chat. And today we have Maria Rodriguez from the Valley Behavioral Health to talk about food is mood. I love food and exercise and how the two intermingle. And so I'm excited about this one. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Maria. This was written by Maria. I've been a wellness health educator for the past 8 years, working with nonprofit community organizations, hospitals, school districts, and public health departments. I've worked with a variety of audiences ranging from children up to senior citizens in my current work with Valley Behavioral Health. I have a bachelor's degree in nutrition and a master's in public health, and I've been CHES, which is Certified Health Education Specialist, certified for the past 3 years. I'm passionate about helping destigmatize mental health conversations and helping individuals better understand the connection between our physical and mental well-being. All right, I like that. I'm with you on that, Maria. Thank you for being here today. Everybody who's on the webinar, if you have questions for Maria, you're welcome to put them in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask her directly. All right, Maria, it's all yours.
Thank you, Paige. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today in this webinar. So this is a topic that I'm really passionate about. It's kind of merging my two interests, which is nutrition and also mental health. And so we're going to talk today about how the foods that we eat, the quality of food that we ingest, how that affects how we feel mentally. So let's get started here. Let me see. There you go. So why does food matter? An interesting fact about how our body uses food, our brain consumes about 20% of the calories that we eat each day. So that's a pretty significant amount of calories that are going to just power our brain. So when we talk about mental health, we know that it's important to then be mindful of the things that we're eating, because you may notice that if you go the entire day without eating, you're moody, you're irritated, maybe you're more quick to anger. When we eat more balanced, make sure we're getting our 3 meals, you may notice that your energy is more stabilized and you're able to maybe deal better with stressful situations in your life. So that's why we wanted to have this discussion and just also provide some ideas of what are some things that we can have on a regular basis that are very simple, economical, so you don't have to spend a lot of money creating them, and have lots of flavor, because sometimes we make that assumption that nutritious, healthy food tastes bad, but it doesn't have to be that way, right? We can get creative in the sense of not spending lots of money, but also another important point that I wanted to make is that you may have the
Hang on, everybody. We seem to have lost Maria. Maria, if you can hear me, it seems like your internet connection might be not great. We still have you on your phone, just not on the other.
So we were talking about these feel-good hormones. So dopamine and serotonin, they're in charge of just regulating our mood, making sure that we are having good energy. And so based on the things that we consume, especially sugar, we know that sugar feeds harmful bacteria, and it also causes an imbalance in these chemicals. And so when we are eating lots of processed foods, sugary foods, you may notice that your mood fluctuates a lot. And that is pretty normal based on these facts of the production of serotonin and dopamine in the gut. So what happens then? People tend to have more symptoms of anxiety. They are agitated and irritated more easily and may experience more symptoms of depression as well. So what are some of the things that can help to develop a healthier eating patterns? One of them is mindful eating. So I wanted to talk about mindful eating because it can definitely transform our eating experience and our relationship with food. And one of the things that I always recommend is to get into the habit, or at least try it once in your life, to keep a food journal. I think journaling and writing down for a couple of days the things that we eat can really help us connect the dots between what are the things that we tend to reach for and how that affects our mood. So you may start to notice patterns that you reach for certain foods or have certain cravings later in the day or late morning. And those are areas for us to then improve or just be more mindful when it's that time of the day to pay attention to the things that we're eating. Journaling may also help identify when we use food as a coping mechanism when we experience things like stress. So when you're stressed out, do you tend to turn for comfort food or do you tend to eat less? What are those patterns for you? We also know that practicing mindful eating may help identify our emotional eating triggers and help establish healthier eating patterns. So emotional eating is very common. So journaling can help us to just understand. If I notice I am going to the refrigerator and grabbing a snack when I'm bored but not physically hungry, what other activities can I include, right, or use to intercept that pattern, break from that habit, and instead distract myself with a more productive or healthy activity for myself. So I wanted to share what are some mindful eating practices. What does mindful eating look like? It can be really simple. It could just be taking your time to enjoy your meal, trying to not hurry up every single meal. I know it's not practical to do this every single day for every meal, but at least a few times a week, we can start there. Sit down with your plate of food, turn off distractions, try to keep your phone away from the table, and just focus on the food in front of you. Try to enjoy the flavors, the texture, the colors, and really use all of your senses to then enjoy that meal. Mindful eating can be a great way to slow down how fast we eat. And that can help us then practice intuitive eating, which means eating when you're hungry, stopping when you're full. So everything sort of is connected. And by adding these small changes in our eating habits, we can really start to reap the benefits. It could also look like sitting at a table to have a
Get some.
Okay, so we were talking about mindful eating. So really it can be just small little twitches or changes that we make in our eating patterns, sitting at the table with family, turning off the television or removing our phone from the table. It could be simply drinking more water. Many times we confuse hunger for thirst and we reach for a snack rather than water. It's just that we're not in tune with being able to differentiate signals between hunger and thirst. So it could be something as simple as that, getting into the habit of drinking water regularly throughout the day. Next slide, please. So I wanted to briefly talk about recognizing and understanding what your relationship with food looks like. Oftentimes, especially in our society in America, there's a big diet culture. We tend to view food as something that's bad or something that we have to restrict, or there are certain foods that we can enjoy and other foods that we shouldn't enjoy. And with intuitive eating and mindful eating, we really talk about giving yourself permission to eat foods that you enjoy and make you feel good physically and mentally. And avoiding the labeling game, labeling certain foods as good for me and certain foods as bad for me or you, of course. Instead, getting into the habit of saying, I can treat myself. It's okay to have things that I enjoy that maybe are not the healthiest, but I know to try to keep things in balance. Watch my portions, not have a treat every single day, or have something small. And give yourself permission to do that and be okay with it, which sometimes can be a journey to get there, because many times there is guilt attached to our eating decisions. So with practice and just being kind to ourselves, we can start to undo some of those patterns that we've learned. Many of these stem from childhood, and be okay with realizing all foods are good, all foods are okay to eat. I just have to know that moderation is key when it comes to my eating patterns. It's also important to not fixate on calories. Sometimes because of this diet culture, we base our eating decisions on how many calories things have. And many times this leads to a very obsessive mindset where we start to count calories, or we say, this has X amount of calories and I'm not okay with that, right? But all of these things are things that we can control and manage over time if we just give ourselves permission to not be so precise and say, I'm going to allow my body to have this treat because that's what I'm craving right now. And I will know that my next meal, I will eat some vegetables and some fiber and drink some water, and I will be forgiving to myself. Also view decisions to eat healthier as a self-care activity rather than a restriction or diet. So when you're having a healthy meal, that's a self-care activity, right? You are doing something for your well-being physically and mentally too, if you decide to break away from this dieter's mindset that many of us have ingrained within us. Next slide, please. I wanted to talk about this hunger scale. I think it can be a great tool when it comes to eating more intuitively. This is just a simple scale that we can use to ask ourselves before we have a meal, and before and after we have a meal, how hungry am I on a scale from 1 to 10? Or how satisfied do I feel on a scale from 1 to 10? So how can we use this scale? Basically, if you look at it, ideally we want to be around 3, 4 when we start eating a meal, right? So you're going to ask yourself, how hungry do I feel right now, right? And ideally we want to be around this 3 or 4. That means that maybe it's been a couple of hours since our last meal, 3 to 4 maybe, and we're starting to think about food. Our stomach is maybe feeling a little empty, and then that's a cue, a physical cue that it's time to eat. We want to avoid the extremes, right? A 1 means we're skipping meals. Maybe your first meal is until 4 p.m., right? So that's when other symptoms start to present themselves. We're getting headaches, we're getting stomach cramps, and we want to avoid that. We know our body needs consistent energy through food in order to function optimally. So ideally, we want to be around a 3 or 4. And then as we're kind of finishing up our meal, ask ourselves, how full do I feel now after my meal? 5 and 6, you can see is kind of that happy face area where we feel good, we feel satisfied, but we don't feel overly stuffed or feel like we have to take a nap after that meal. And like I said, from one extreme to the other, a 10 means we're really stuffed. Maybe we have some stomach pains. I like to always say that's Thanksgiving dinner if you get to a 10. It's okay once a year, but we don't want to do that every single meal. So stop eating around 5 or 6 is where ideally we want to find ourselves in that balance. So a nice little tool that we can use, just ask yourself those simple questions, and the more you kind of ask this question, the more you will kind of make it into a habit, and you'll be able to differentiate, am I eating because I'm hungry, or am I eating just out of habit or routine? And as you practice it, you can kind of tweak some of your eating hours to really be responsive to your physical hunger cues. Next slide. So I wanted to just provide some basic, simple information about what are those foods or food groups that we should be eating from the most. So this image, I think, does a good job of summarizing some of the items, food items that we should try to include on a regular basis. So definitely including a source of protein, carbs, and fat at most of our meals. So things that would be considered healthy protein options would be things like fish, beans, eggs, milk, yogurt, cheese. Non-meat options like tofu would be one, and meats. Lean is usually the recommendation, but we want to just make sure that there's some sort of protein on the plate, preferably grilled or baked. And fried, of course, it's fine, right? We're eating in moderation and in balance, but we want to make sure that we're going for those healthier options a little bit more often than maybe the unhealthier ones. We also want to make sure we're getting fruits and vegetables. So I always tell people, put color on your plate, right? That's the easiest way to make sure we're eating enough fiber. So as you can see on the image of the plate there, making about half of your plate fruits and veggies. You can make it a fun game, a fun activity, and say, this week, let's focus on eating a vegetable or fruit that's purple. Next week, let's try something that's orange or red. And that's a way to kind of make it fun and interesting, so it doesn't feel like a chore that you have to add some fruits and veggies on your plate. Then our grains. We want to make sure we have a good variety of grains. Whole wheat is the best option. Why? Because it has fiber intact. The white rice, white bread, usually those have the fiber removed. So we know fiber helps with satisfaction, meal satisfaction. The more fiber we consume, the less cravings we're going to have, the more filling that meal is until the next meal. Okay, so options are oats too are a great option, brown rice, peas, sweet potatoes, and corn. Those tend to fall under the starchy vegetables, which are really good to consume. Just watching the portions would be ideal. And then the healthy fats, kind of one of the main ones and really good ones is avocados, whether in its fresh form or oils. Avocado oil, that would be a great option. Nuts, seeds, olives, and their oils would also be good ones. So remember, our brain needs healthy fats for it to function correctly. So we want to make sure we're choosing high quality sources of fat. That's very important. So as you can see on the plate, if you want to kind of simplify it, try to make about half of your plate fruits and veggies, a quarter of your plate some sort of lean protein, and then the other quarter of your plate a healthy carb. And serve it with some water. It's really important to have water throughout the day to stay super hydrated. Sticking to the perimeter of the grocery store and limiting packaged processed foods is another great little tip there. You will find these quality foods mostly in the perimeter of the store. So opting to start there and then at the end go through the aisles might be a helpful tip to avoid buying too much processed foods and prioritizing the whole foods first when you go on a shopping trip. Next slide. I wanted to briefly talk about this idea that healthy eating means you have to spend more money or that it's considerably more expensive than having a fast food meal for every meal. I think if we organize ourselves well, if we practice some of these tips, you can really save quite a lot of money and still eat really healthy and have really delicious meals. So some of the things that are really helpful are things like meal planning. Meal planning is just sitting down, taking some time, maybe once a week, and writing out what are the meals that you would like to prepare for the upcoming week. And that way you have a plan of action. You know what ingredients you need for your breakfast, your lunches, your dinners, and you're able to be more efficient when you go grocery shopping. Making a list is really helpful. The problem is, is sticking. A lot of people struggle with sticking to their list. and they tend to wander around the store, see things that look appetizing, and then it goes into the shopping cart, and then we end up spending more than we meant to. So the list is very vital, but we have to be mindful of sticking to it. Another great suggestion would be to always check what you have on hand. Check your pantry, check your refrigerator and freezer. It's very common for people to buy the same ingredient that they already had at home because we didn't spend those extra minutes just being sure we're checking the inventory that we have at home. A fourth tip here is trying to eat more homemade meals instead of going out to eat. We know inflation is really bad right now, so it's definitely affecting restaurants and their dishes, the price of their dishes. So if possible, aim to make your meals at home a little bit more often. They'll be fresher. You'll know exactly what's in it. You'll be able to control the amount of salt that it's included in there. And you'll be saving yourself a bit of money, right? When we eat from home, we tend to have leftovers or additional servings to eat later, while restaurants tend to be a one serving, one type of meal. Next slide. So this is our last slide before we get into our food demo that I wanted to kind of share with everyone some easy ideas. Additional things that we can consider is maximizing your leftovers. So this could mean getting creative. If I baked a chicken, right? Thinking about what are the different things that I can cook or meals that I can prepare with that chicken. Can I make one day tacos? The next day, maybe I make a chicken soup. The third day, I make a casserole, right? So trying to purposefully buy ingredients that you know you can prepare in different ways. That can be a great way to minimize how many things you have to buy at the market. Buying whole foods. So that means shopping the perimeter. Perimeter is where you will find those items that are fresh, produce, your dairy products, your protein products, things that are not packaged or bagged in some way. Buying produce when in season is another great tip. Just kind of walk around your produce section at your store. What do you see the most of? What things tend to be discounted at the time? Those things are the ones that are probably in season. Recently, I've seen a lot of corn. A month and a half ago, there was lots of peaches. So try to find ways to incorporate what's lower in price at your supermarket into your meal plans. And that could be a great way to save quite a bit. Finally, buying frozen or canned fruits and vegetables could be a great way to save and enjoy some items when they are not in season. For example, berries right now, they're not in their best season, but we can opt to buy them frozen. And frozen companies, they pick and freeze their berries when they are in season. So you're still going to get more flavor, and possibly it'll be cheaper than if you opt to buy when it's out of season fresh. And don't be afraid of those options. They're a great way to supplement your buying if you can find it fresh. A tip with canned, just always make sure that you check the sodium amounts. Some have really high amounts, so just do a comparison of the labels. Label reading can be really helpful in that department. So just get into the habit of checking how much sodium do these two options of peas or beans have? Can I go for the option that has less sodium? Rinsing your beans, rinsing your vegetables if they're canned can also considerably reduce the amount of salt that they contain. So that's another helpful tip as well. I wanted to see if there's any questions before I get into the demo part of the class. Any questions about the material that we've talked about?
You're welcome to unmute yourself or put it in the chat.
No? All right, it looks like we don't have any questions. I don't see any in the chat either. So we'll jump into some of our recipes. So let's see. So the first thing we're gonna prepare, and I'm gonna move my camera so everyone can see what I'm making here. Let's see, can everyone see more or less?
I think so. I can see some bread or some tortillas and a banana.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so we're gonna make, all of these ideas are very simple, very few ingredients, so they're very affordable. And the first snack idea I have is what we call banana wheels. So what we're gonna use are some whole wheat flour tortillas, okay? So this is a good option. We are getting the whole wheat version instead of the regular white flour ones for the added fiber content. And I'm getting a packet of 10. And I know some people tell me, well, I live alone, or it's only me and one other person. That's a lot. So what I'm trying to do with this class is showing everyone how we can use the same ingredient in multiple ways. So our second recipe will also include flour tortillas. So what we're gonna do, we take one tortilla, we're going to have some peanut butter. So tortillas, peanut butter, and banana are our 3 ingredients for this recipe. With peanut butter, I do recommend that you always check the ingredient list. Let's see if we can kind of see it there. Lots of popular brands especially add sugars and oils to peanut butter just to enhance the flavor. So I always tell people, make sure you read the ingredients because we want to just purchase brands that have just what it says it is, peanuts, and maybe a little bit of salt. So this is a brand that I purchased at Walmart. It might be in other stores, but it's called Crazy Richard's 100% Peanuts. And there's other brands. You just have to kind of take the time to read the label. So what we're doing, we're just spreading a bit of peanut butter on this tortilla. You can make it as thin of a layer or as thick of a layer as you wish. And just leaving a little bit of the edge clear without any peanut butter so we can roll it. So once you have your peanut butter on there, we're just gonna take our banana. We're gonna peel this. And sometimes I get people telling me, my blood sugar spikes too much with banana. Can I use something else? You can use any fruit that's in season. This is delicious with strawberries, mangoes, which were recently in season too, would be delicious. Mine broke a bit, but it'll still work. So I put it on the very edge of the tortilla, and then I'm just gonna roll it. I'm going to make rolls with my ingredients here. Okay. And so the peanut butter will act as a glue, and it'll keep all of the ingredients intact and in there. So once I have my roll, I can cut it into smaller sections to make wheels, what we call wheels, or we can take this on the go like this. So this is a great even breakfast idea. If you don't have the time, you can make this ahead of time, keep it in your refrigerator, and it'll kind of sit really well in the fridge. It'll firm up, keep all the ingredients together well overnight, and you can just grab it and go on your way. So you can keep it as a roll or cut it like I am doing now. And it's very filling because we have the fiber from the tortilla, we have the banana, which is rich in fiber, and we have the peanut butter, which is rich in healthy fats. So as you can see, they're little banana rolls over here. Let me see if I can move my camera a bit more. Let's see. And it's just 3 ingredients. You can make it fancier if you wish. You can add maybe some almonds, which come already pre-sliced livered almonds. You can add additional fruit as well. You can customize it to your tasting. Almond butter would also work really well. That's another alternative, but it does tend to be a little bit more expensive than peanut butter. So if you want to kind of keep it budget friendly, you could opt for a different type of nut butter. Okay, so super simple idea, quick and easy, doesn't require any cooking, and none of the recipes I will show you require any cooking. Okay, so the next recipe that I want to share with everyone are some hummus and veggie wraps. So I said I wanted to use up this ingredient, so we're going to use whole wheat tortillas again. I'm going to grab one of these, put it here on our cutting board. So now instead of peanut butter, I am going to prepare with hummus. So hummus is a great option. See down here. It's rich in protein, so it's a good plant-based source of protein. You can nowadays find hummus with different flavor combinations. So if you love garlic, you can find some garlic hummus. Some red pepper hummus. You can really kind of make your own hummus as well, if that's something you want to try. So similar to my first recipe, I'm just going to spread a thin layer of the hummus, just like that. And now I'm going to add my veggies. So if you struggle to eat your veggies, this might be a good recipe to try. I'm going to add, I purchased this pre-made broccoli slaw. So broccoli slaw is a great alternative to coleslaw, if maybe coleslaw is not your favorite. And I love this idea of using the broccoli stalks. So this is how they make broccoli slaw. They take the broccoli stalks that we usually throw away, and they get shredded. And this item has shredded carrots and purple cabbage mixed in there. So very similar to a coleslaw. We're just kind of not wasting the broccoli stalks that tend to end up in the trash can. They're still packed with lots of nutrition, just like the broccoli crowns. So I'm just going to put a layer of that on my tortilla. And now I'm going to add a bit of cucumber. So I have some cucumbers here. Very high in water content, so it can be really good for hydration. So I'm going to add just some half moons of cucumbers. And then I'm going to sprinkle some diced sweet onion on top. And finally, for added flavor, I'm going to add this balsamic vinaigrette. So vinaigrettes are a healthier option than, say, your creamy dressings like ranch. Those tend to be loaded with a lot of saturated fat, which are not the ideal types of fats to eat. So this might be a better option. You could also make your own, or simply kind of put a little bit of lemon juice or balsamic vinegar on its own. If you don't want to go out and spend on a dressing, a pre-made dressing, you can just add something that has a little bit of an acidic flavor. So I just sprinkle that over my wrap here. And now I'm just going to roll it up, just like I did my banana rolls. Okay. Just like that. And you can keep it as one piece, or you can cut it in half. And this would be a great quick lunch idea, or also would work really well as an on-the-go meal option. As you can see, very simple. All of these recipes take, I would say, no more than 10 minutes if you include the prepping of the vegetables. and dicing and cutting and all of that. Okay, so those are our hummus and veggie wraps. Lots of fiber, lots of different colors. Remember, colors means lots of good mix of vitamins and minerals. Okay, so I'm going to move that over to the side. And a third idea I wanted to share with everyone is for this chocolate chia pudding that, let me bring my ingredients over. So very easy. I made a portion before starting this webinar, just because it does need a bit of time to sit and thicken up. So what we're going to use are chia seeds. So chia seeds are considered a superfood. There are these tiny little black seeds, if you're not familiar. Let me see if I can maybe show what they look like. Tiny seeds. They kind of remind me of sesame seeds, but just the black kind, black sesame seeds. And they are really high in fiber, really high in omega-3 fats, which are the healthy fats that we want to eat more of. It's one of the few plant-based good sources of omega-3s. So what we're going to do to make our pudding, we are going to add to our bowl here about a cup and a half of almond milk. You can use regular milk, coconut milk, your milk of choice would work fine. And then we're going to add some cocoa powder. Okay, so this is baking cocoa powder. That means that it's unsweetened. Sometimes you'll find it sweetened, so you want to make sure that it's baking. That means that it's just the cocoa powder. So to this, I am going to add about a quarter cup into my milk. Okay, so this is what's going to give it the chocolate flavor. Then we're going to add some flavor. So we're going to add some cinnamon to taste, about a half teaspoon. We're going to add our chia seeds. So we're going to add about a quarter cup of as well of the chia seeds into our mixture. So something interesting about the chia seeds is that they drink any liquid that you place them in. So whether it's milk or water, once you let it sit, it's going to absorb the liquid and it's going to gel up, and that's what's going to give it the pudding texture. So I'm going to mix this together. You might need to whisk for a few minutes just to get rid of the clumps of cocoa powder. Another tip might be to sift the cocoa powder before you combine it to get rid of some of those clumps. Now what I'm going to add is a little bit of honey. So you can add honey to your liking. You can also use maple syrup if you prefer, but maple syrup tends to be more expensive, so that's why I went with the honey. So I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons. But if you like it less sweet, put a little bit less or more. This is going to have a pretty rich dark chocolate flavor. So depending on whether you like dark chocolate or not, you can decide how much honey you want to add. Okay, so once it's mixed really well, I like to just cover my container and put it in the fridge for at least an hour and a half. You could also just prepare this recipe a day ahead and let it rest overnight and then enjoy it the following day. So I have a small batch that I made ahead of time. So let me show everyone what that looks like. So I have here my pudding. As you can see, if you let it sit, it's going to thicken. So now it has this pudding texture. Okay. And I like to top mine with just a couple of fresh fruit, berries, a couple of strawberries or blueberries to add a little bit of extra fiber and color. So here is our chocolate chia pudding. So it's a fun way to add chia seeds into our diet. You could also add chia seeds to just plain water or a smoothie, a shake, sprinkle it over a salad or your oatmeal. It doesn't have a flavor on its own, so it will acquire the flavor that you combine it, or the ingredients that you combine it with, it will just take on that flavor. All right, so those are a couple of ideas that I wanted to share with everyone today. If you want to share which one was your favorite, feel free to do so in the chat. Are we going to try any of the recipes that we saw today? Any feedback? I know we wanted to kind of keep it at about 45 minutes. So if anybody has any questions, please do let me know or just share with me which ones are intriguing to you, which ones you would like to try.
How much almond milk?
What's that?
How much almond milk?
I used about 1.5 cups of almond milk.
Okay.
Mhm.
I have enjoyed this very much. Thank you. I am going to try all 3 of those recipes. And I'm sure my hubby, who he is a diabetic, and all of these, I do believe he could eat too. So thank you. Thank you very much. I've enjoyed this session today.
You're welcome. They're very high in fiber, so they will definitely help to control his blood sugar so it doesn't spike so quickly. So I think that they're all very much diabetic friendly. And
Yes.
what I could also do is email Marianne the recipes. And if you have everyone's contact information, we could just mail it out to everyone if they want precise serving sizes and portions of all of the ingredients. That's a possibility.
You are welcome to do that. I am going to put my email in the chat. And so if you want a copy of Maria's recipes, please shoot me an email and then I'll make sure that we get email to you. Since we don't have a way of having the emails of the people on, but yeah, that would be great. And I'm definitely going to try the chia seed one as well. I've done chia seed pudding type things before and they're actually very tasty, and I'd love to get chia seeds into my regular routine because they are so beneficial, fiber-wise especially, right?
Yeah, and they're very filling, so they're a great snack to have in the middle of meals if you feel like you're starting to get hungry, and it'll just help you to carry you over until your next meal. And very tasty, like you say, you can kind of play around with it. If you're not a fan of that dark chocolate flavor, take out the cocoa powder, put some vanilla. You can definitely customize it to your palate and the things that you enjoy.
Excellent. Any other questions or thoughts for Maria while we still have her? Yes, Catherine. Oh, Catherine, you'll need to unmute. Do you know how to do that? You see the mute button there? There you go.
My question is of Maria, her recipe for the pudding, how many servings does that make?
The one for the pudding.
Or was that one serving?
Let me open my official recipe sheet here so I can give you the correct answer. So it makes about 4 half-cup servings.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It's me again, Lois. I'm sorry, I went in and I can see where it says chat. I don't know how to give you my email, but I can't figure out how to type it in so that you know it.
Lois, can you see what my email is there? That pcorley@slco.org.
Yes.
Why don't you just shoot me an email with from your email, and then I'll have your email and I'll get these recipes to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep. Maria, this was so great. I don't think we can have enough information about food. It's so confusing, and it's hard when you're living with yourself or just one other person. I personally experienced that a lot this year, and so I have a lot of empathy and sympathy for those of us who are cooking for one. It's so easy to start to only eat frozen dinners or not eat, eat those convenient foods, and those three things you just showed us included vegetables and fruits and were easy to make, and you can make them in small servings. So I appreciate that. Very user friendly and applicable to, I think, our population here. So thank you for that. We really appreciate that. We'd love to have you back. And everybody who's here, we will be here next Tuesday at 2. And I apologize, I don't have that information in front of me, so it's going to be a surprise. So just join and be pleasantly surprised by what we're going to have for you.
I know what it is.
Oh, good, Becky. Tell us.
Resiliency and coping, learning new skills.
That is a wonderful, wonderful presentation. I'll definitely be joining in for that one. No, we can't be resilient enough, right? And coping skills, yeah, definitely need more of those. Maria, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Appreciate you persevering and sticking with us and figuring out your video and your audio. Thank you for that. That's what we have to do today, these days, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Paige. So
everybody.
I will email you the recipes, or that's good? Okay.
Either way, but you are welcome to email me the recipes. That works just fine.
Okay, I will do that then.
And if you lose something and you have Marianne's, that will be fine too. But I can receive them easily.
Got it. We'll do that.
All right. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Thanks for being here today. Appreciate it. Thanks, Maria.
Thank you.